is walking a little bit closer just to see what we want. They're very inquisitive creatures. Let's wait here one more minute, and if they don't move towards us, what we'll do is just take a few steps closer. In fact, let's just do that now. And we'll stop here. Now, if I was a predator, I would duck down, and that almost immediately result in either the giraffe rushing over to have a quick look and then running away. And certainly if they were buffalo, the worst thing you could do if you were seen, like we have been seen, is to try and hide from them. Buffalo will come and find out what you're doing. But if they were buffalo standing where they are, chances are they'd just stand up and look at us. And you'll hear lots of stories from great white hunters about how incredibly dangerous buffalo are. They were sitting at that sort of distance from us, which is quite close. It's probably about 40 meters away, say 140 feet. They would just look at us. They wouldn't come charging over here. But if you were to then duck behind that termite mound and behave like a predator, things would be a bit different. We'll walk a little closer. What we'll do is we'll just walk this way around now and see if we can't get a look at the wildebeest as well. Now, when you're on foot, of course, the trick is not to focus only on what you're looking at. Oh, that's wonderful. I think that they are fascinated by the aerial sticking out of Andrew's back, to be honest. Isn't that great? There you can see the wildebeest in the background. And that giraffe is now 30 meters from us. So the easiest way to, you multiply by 3 1/4 and you get to roughly the number of feet that is. So 30 meters, sitting roughly 100 feet, plus minus 105 feet or so. Not far away. And the wildebeest is probably about 120 meters away. This is wonderful. And then from Laura in Happy Valley in Oregon, do I think they'd ever chase me? I think it's really unlikely. If you cornered them, they really felt like we were threatening them. Yes, it's possible. But I think, his easiest course of action is just to turn around and walk away. And I think that's probably what he will do. No animal out here will cause an unnecessary conflict. The chance of being injured is much too great. And you don't really want to be injured as an animal out here, because if you are, you won't eat and then you will die. There's a whole lot more just standing over there. Look, the bull's coming around here. He's coming to have a look. This is just so cool. You can hear the call of the telephone bird, or the boo-boo shrike, in the background. And all around the doves are calling. Oriole. And the oxpecker. Okay, let's take 2 more steps forward and see what he does. I think we're getting right into that fight or flight zone now. And in my experience, that's normally flight with giraffe, and we're going to hope that that status quo is maintained. I tell you what, Andrew, let's try and go to that tree there. Ramey, you want to know if I've ever come across an aggressive giraffe? No, I haven't, Ramey. I've never come across an aggressive animal. I've come across an animal that has been threatened before, but I've never managed to threaten a giraffe into any kind of violent action. There, now he's moving. Just a little bit close now, for comfort. I think let's sit. Can we see if we can sit down? We're just going to sit down here, because often what they do is they come a little bit closer when you're sitting, and of their own accord. Now, Electra in Boston, Massachusetts, you want to know if they bite. They have, and if how long their tongues are. Their tongues are very long, apparently about 70 centimeters. That's more than 2 feet. And you want to know if they bite. Not that I'm aware of. Their main defense is their feet. For them to bite something, remember, I suppose they probably bite each other a little bit, but as a defensive mechanism, biting is pretty hopeless when you're that much taller than anything that might attack you. So their main threats would be hyenas and lions, mainly lions in this area. And, for them to get down and bite a lion would be almost impossible. So they stamp viciously with their feet. Can you smell them, Andrew?
Yes.
They've got a sort of musky, a little bit like waterbuck. It's kind of a horsey smell. Horsey smell with a bit of cinnamon mixed into it. So, Anna-Marie, you want to know if a giraffe would be able to stay away from a lion or keep up with a lion in an open area. So basically on a racetrack, who would be faster? A lion is quick. A lion would probably run at about 80 kilometers an hour. That's 50 miles an hour, at least 10. Giraffe. The giraffe had a decent head start, though. The lions would probably give up. But a lion is definitely faster than a giraffe. And Charlie, you say you saw them chasing a landy on a video. That's quite interesting. I wonder if they weren't being chased themselves by lions, perhaps. Yeah. So they're not slow. They're certainly much faster than any of us, but they're not slow. Here's a little one coming up now just to investigate us. Fascinated by these strange things sitting on the ground. And the two bulls are now coming even closer. They are astonished by what they're witnessing here. Now you get a very strong sense of their smell. They smell, ooh, it's quite powerful. They really do smell quite a lot like waterbuck. I don't know if you're familiar with the smell musk, but they are quite kind of musky smelling. Not unpleasant at all. It's interesting, I had a tracker called Elvis once, and Elvis used to smell giraffe long before we saw them. And he used to say, "Can you smell them?" And I'd say, "No, I can't smell them." And it's actually only in the last few days that I've started to smell giraffe. This is an interesting question from Pretty Nightmare about whether or not giraffe have top incisors. Pretty Nightmare, you say that they've probably just got a pad on top there. I think they have got very small incisors, Pretty Nightmare. I can actually see some on that giraffe that's coming towards us now. When he opens his mouth, I can see the odd small incisor. You've got a skull at home. I'll just go and have a look there, but I'm pretty sure they've got very small incisors. I might be wrong, though. It's not uncommon for predators, certainly, not predators, herbivores. Certainly sheep don't have incisors on both sides of the jaw. Isn't this wonderful? Not an we get in the vehicles at all. Interesting question from Margaret in Kansas. If you want to know when they are ruminating or when they're chewing the cud, are they still ruminating? Well, ruminating is the process of chewing the cud and then swallowing and then digesting. So, I mean, that's a whole process, and it is ongoing in the stomach as well as in the mouth all the time, Margaret. So just perhaps if you're unfamiliar with it, what happens is that they've got a 4-chambered stomach. Food goes in through the mouth, goes into the first digestive section called the rumen. It sits there bobbling about in some bacteria, and then it's vomited back up into the mouth and re-chewed, and then it goes through a process of digestion in the other 3 chambers of the stomach. And what that does is that it extracts every possible piece of nutrients that there is in the grass. Protein, of course, is the difficult thing for them to get. They get lots of carbohydrates from the grass that they eat, but protein is a lot more difficult for them to get because there's not a huge amount of protein in the grass, or not the grass, in the leaves that they eat. So they need that rumination process to extract as much as possible. But it's a slightly more advanced process than many of the other animals like an elephant or a zebra have. They've got something called fermentation, and that hindgut fermentation tends to be less efficient than the rumination is. But their limiting factor is that once the food quality drops below a certain level, then they are unable to take in more food because they can only take in a certain amount before they have to regurgitate it and re-chew it. Whereas a hindgut fermenter, like a zebra, which is just a bit more inefficient, this food quality goes below a certain level, they can just keep eating more and more and more and more. Terry in Santa Ana, an interesting one from you. Do giraffe use their sense of smell when something or someone comes into their territories? Firstly, they don't have territories. They've got what we call the home range, so they don't mark a territory or defend a territory, but absolutely they'll use their hearing, their smell, their sight, all their senses to sense any kind of danger and assess it. These giraffes have got bored with us now, and they've just moved on to eat. So what we'll do is we'll just walk around them and see if we can't get another look and perhaps see what else there is here on the quarantine clearings. What a very special experience. While we're doing that, and we mentioned the zebras, I did mention zebra and their digestive systems. The indomitable Brent Leo Smith is sitting with the Dazzle himself. Let's go across to him, and I'll see you a little bit later.
And we are following some striped donkeys down the road. So horses and donkeys are obvious relations to the zebra, but the donkey being a far closer relation. And interesting question for everyone: how many horse or donkey species occur in the wild in Africa? Any donkey or horse species occur in the wild in Africa? Send your answers through to questions at WildEarthTV or use the hashtag Safari Live. And now for the cheesy Monday morning joke. Ahead of us we have a zebra crossing. Da-dum. Quack, quack, quack. You can see that tail swishing to keep the flies away. zebras look like they're about to disappear into the bushes. While we were watching these zebras, Brian and I heard what we thought to be some branches breaking behind us, so we let the zebras meander off. We're going to go see what was there. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it's some ellies, but even if it is, it just sounded like possibly one. Let's go have a look at where those branches were breaking. Quick update from Arathusa. I got on the radio while you were with James, and unfortunately no updates for Arathusa. So we're going to stay in this area, although those elephants sound like, that elephant sounds like it's possibly on Arathusa, so we're going to go have a look there. But other than that, no updates. I was really hoping possibly that new female leopard had crossed across during the evening, but no such luck. So those breaking branch sounds came from in here somewhere. There's a road that runs parallel to us, not too far, so maybe we can check that one out. Here we go. Elephants. At least it seems like my ears are working well. It's that. You might see that big must bull, that big tusker who was in must. But this looks like a breeding herd. Nice calm. There's a little one having a smell at us. Feeling very brave with the fallen knobthorn between. Oh, here he comes. Hello, Mr. Big and Scary. Little female. See that angular forehead? They are very cute when they pretend to be very big and scary towards us. There we go. Putting a little bush between it and us to make it feel a bit safer. Oh, we're going to get a charge. No. And they eat some more fresh shoots. Decided we're not that important. Using its feet, you can see it's got full use of the tongue now. Oh, there we go. A little bit of warmth on our backs. The sun just broke through the cloud a tiny bit. Oh yes, you're very silly. Quite a few elephants I can see around. One just off to the left, feeding through the bush there. Another one in front of us directly, so that's two. And then I can just see a tail wagging through the bush to the right. And there we go. The next one is through the bush there. Oh no. Let me have a look. I've got to find my finger. You can just see tail movement and stuff through the bush. And then those two. And another one. Oh, there's quite a lot around here. So at least 7 or 8 that we can see. Possibly a few more. Let's just try and move a little bit. So, while we get into a better position, I'm going to send you off to James, who's got some mushrooms that are hopefully not magic.
Hello everyone, lying here on the ground just to the west of quarantine clearings, we have found a little fungus. Okay, so sorry about that. So what happens is that when Andrew leans forward, he loses the signal. So he has to adopt a number of fairly bizarre postures in order to maintain the signal. So this mushroom, I think Tara called it the Darth Vader mushroom. That's probably quite a good description of it, and would possibly be toxic to us. I've never seen anything eat a mushroom like this, but the top of it has definitely been eaten. And you can see the spores, which are the seeds that a mushroom releases in order to kind of make new mushrooms, have been released. They come out of these filaments here, and I think they've all been released. And this probably came up out of the ground and grew into what it is now within less than a day after that little bit of rain that we recently had. Isn't he magnificent? Wonderful mushroom. Alrighty, well that's the end of the mushroom segment. We'll send you back to the elephants with Brent Leo Smith, and we'll continue. We're trying to find a hornbill nest just further up the road there, and if we can, we'll tell you about it. Fear not. Enjoy the elephants.
Right. We're still sitting here with this wonderful herd of eddies. You can see by their body language, so relaxed around us, and that's very, very special. You can see mom and youngster there feeding off the same little knobthorn. Yeah, a grey go-away bird in the tree close by. Go on. Hello, little one. So on the subject of our feathered friends, Anna Marie's wondering when we will see woodlands, kingfishers back in the area. If I remember correctly, it should be around the 12th or 14th of November that they arrive. Couple of weeks, and then the bush will be inundated with we are literally surrounded by elephants at the moment. Couldn't think of a better place to be on a Monday morning. Now, very interesting, that female is eating a common spike thorn, and we don't see them eating that too often. That is one of the trees that elephants use when they're younger for teething. Maybe she's got a sore tooth and she's eating quite a bit of that spike thorn that's got a very high tannin level and a sort of anesthetic property that will also dry out your mouth quite a lot, and she's really going to town on it. And then we've got another elephant who's just popped up in front of us. Hello, big lady. Old female. Taking apart that red bush willow. Yvonne from Sweden has shared a screenshot of a baby elephant sucking its tongue, and she's wondering if, like human babies, they'll do that if they're uncomfortable or shy as a coping mechanism. Not to my knowledge, Yvonne. I think it's just sucking its trunk because it can, and generally when uncomfortable or shy, they will run back to their mothers. I think a trunk is such an important tool to an ellie that I think they're so used to putting it near its mouth or sucking its mouth. There might be a nice little bit of sweet sap on there that it was trying to get, or it could just have been playing with its trunk. Oh. So that little bush willow is now looking, what's she after there? A little fresh shoots off a grivia, or looks like an African raisin or raisin bush that she's eating now, and the raisin bush is now gone. She hasn't pulled it out of the ground, so it probably will grow again. Next raisin bush in 1, 2, there we go. Whoop. And now some Pultiforum or weeping wattle. So we've just watched this elephant eat three different species in a very short space of time. And there goes the rest of the weeping wattle. And they tend to only really eat weeping wattle when it's young. They don't really like it too much when it's old. Hello, big girl. Very wrinkly bottom disappearing. Quite an old female by the looks of things. Incredible patterns in the rain. Incredibly thick skin, probably 4 or 5 inches thick. We're going to try reposition again. See where the rest of the herd are off to. So while we reposition, we're going to hop across to James, who's with another member of Africa's Big Five.
Hello everyone. There you might be able to see on the tree is a slit where a branch used to live on that marula tree, and that slit is actually more of a hole. You can't properly see it from here. If I look with my powerful binoculars, I can see that indeed it is a proper hole, and that is a hornbill's nest. Now, just to quickly let you know how a hornbill builds a nest, they don't build them at all. They use holes that have either been excavated by fungus, that's probably been eaten out by a number of wood-eating fungus and beetles and that sort of thing, and they would have gone in there. The female would have shed her feathers, the male would have seen incubating and growing her feathers back. The male would have fed her through a little slit like that you can see there, and once the eggs had hatched, she would have come out and helped the male to seal the chicks back in and then feed them. And we saw that millipede very early on in the beginning of our little walk today, and they put millipedes in the mud that seals up the holes, and apparently that deters predators because they are full of cyanide. Now, just over there, in fact crossing the road as well, there is a buffalo. Now, I believe Brent used the term Big Five before he linked to us, and to that I'm going to have a word with him about, but those buffalo are apparently the most fearsomely terrifying animals in all of Africa. Don't they look terrifying? They're not terrifying at all. They're only terrifying if they're threatened. You can see them coming across the road now, and these are old bulls. Well, there are a whole lot of them there, actually. This is a wonderful sighting. They're old bulls who are probably past their prime, no longer able to be with the herd. And as long as you keep your distance like we are keeping ours now, they are not going to react to us. I'm just going to test the wind. This is a sock, Scott Dyson sock full of ash. What we do is we test the wind. You can see it's blowing not badly for us. It's blowing perpendicular to us. So the buffalo won't hear us, or they won't smell us. They will be able to see us. If they look up here, we're not trying to hide from them. If they look up here, they would be able to see us standing on this mound. And I suspect what they'll do is look up, assess the threat level, and given that we're not behaving like predators, we're just standing up here, we're not doing anything predator-like, like hiding or sneaking up towards them, I suspect they'd look at us and then press on with their lives. I think they're probably making their way very slowly down towards Gowrie Dam, or Djuma Dam, where they'll probably have a bit of a drink. There's a clean water pan that's being pumped in that area now. The termite mound, like the one we're standing on, of course, is the best vantage point. They really are good spots to look at animals from. They're pretty safe, and they're also really good for animals to be able to see you if you want them to see you, and if you don't, you just drop down the other side and then they can't. I've had any number of spectacular walks, especially with white rhino, from termite mounds. And you can sit on the termite mounds, and sometimes they'll come right up and graze around it And because they're virtually blind, as long as the wind is correct and you don't make a noise, they've got no idea that you're there. It's the most wonderful experience. And likewise, it's just great that the buffalo don't know we're here, or they're certainly not affected by us. And just to keep you posted, we're going to stay here for a little while. We're going to watch the whole little herd of bulls move past here, and then we'll probably make our way slowly back across quarantine clearings and see what else there is there. But for the moment, let's just marvel at these huge 600 or 600 to 900 kilogram bulls. And just to reiterate, the big five, of course, is an old hunting term. There's another one coming through there, Andrew. There's an old hunting term that referred to the animals that apparently were the most dangerous to hunt. Because we're not hunting them, you'll find that buffalo are pretty docile as long as you don't give them a nasty surprise or a fright. And that's why I'm standing up here on the termite mound in plain view. And thank you, Suzanne. You are obviously watching our little segment that we did with the mushroom, and you say James and the Giant Mushroom could be the title to the next Roald Dahl children's book. I think Were the Great Man Still Alive, I'd suggest it to him. Maybe perhaps Andrew and the Giant Mushroom would have been a good one. James already featured in The Peach, of course. Now we've been seen. Those buffalo have spotted us. You see that one looking at us, Andrew? And that has happened. The wind has switched. It's come from behind us, and I suspect they've picked up the smell of us. And what we'll do is just stand here and watch. We're a long distance away. We're a really good distance, probably about 200 meters. So 600, more than 600 feet. So let's stay watching these buff for a little bit longer, then we'll head back to Brent. Ooh, can hear some buffalo grunting in the distance. The two bulls probably having a little bit of a fight with each other. We'll watch the last of them walk across the road there. There they go. They're just grazing quietly towards a small pond that's not too far from here. Now the buffalo, just like the giraffe, are ruminants, and so they do need water. That's the only limiting factor for a buffalo. They've got incredibly efficient digestive systems. And so the only thing that stops them from being able to derive the nutrition they need to from the grass is not enough water. And there's plenty of water around here, and you can see those buffalo are in pretty good nick. So that terrifying buffalo you saw, it viewed us, it saw us. There's also a nyala there. Can you see the nyala?
Yeah.
This terrifying buffalo looked at us, saw us, and started eating again. Now you can see that's purely because we are not representing a threat. We're not behaving like predators towards them. We're standing on top of the termite mound in plain view. They know that we know that they can see us. And you can see the nyala is far more skittish about us. He's much more suspicious of our motives than the buffalo. That's wonderful. All right, I think let's head back across to Brent and see what he's got to show you. We're going to make our way back, possibly across quarantine clearings via a slightly different route, and see what else we can find on our way. What a marvelous sighting that was. See you just now.
So unfortunately those Ellies moved into quite a thick block, and we didn't want to bash around and disturb them. So we're slowly making our way. We're getting quite close to where those lions were. Just double checking they haven't moved. It has been a cool morning, but they are quite full. And of course, have they moved? They have moved 20 meters. From out in the open, that little burst of sunshine sent them to the shade. So they have moved from there to there. So, while you were with James, I did a little bit of research, and there are only 4 of the big cats that are able to roar. We do call leopard coughing, but it is a form of roar, and that is lion, tiger, leopard, and jaguar. So, one of the only members of the Panthera family that are not able to roar is the snow leopard, where there is puma and cheetah. Even though their voice boxes are theoretically large enough, that bone is ossified. So ossified is solid, so they are unable to roar. And the snow leopard also has that big enough voice box to do it, but its vocal cords lack an important layer of fat and elasticized tissue. So even though it isn't as ossified as something like a cheetah or a house cat, it's still not as elastic as the other 4 of the Panthera genus. So speaking about calls and noises, William Rhinelander is wondering, do we ever use imitation calls to attract animals to our location? We don't, William. There's a few reasons we don't. The most important is that we are here to observe, not to interfere. However, saying this, in the past, on scientific expeditions, I have personally used calls to attract animals before, and that is generally for research. It is deemed one of the better ways to attract big cats and hyenas into an area, and especially if you're under limited time to get genetic samples and test for disease and things like that. It is a very, very useful tool. So there's a couple of different calls that are used to attract animals. For lions, the most common one is a baby buffalo distress call. So you would have recorded, someone has recorded, or there's quite a few recordings of a baby buffalo being killed by lions, and you attach large speakers to your vehicle and you play that, and that if there are any lions close by, it'll bring them careering in, as well as any hyenas. But if you want to attract leopard more specifically, but this will also attract lions and hyenas as well, but you play pig squeals. So either a warthog being murdered by a cat, or even just a domestic pig squealing will bring leopards in. Leopards sometimes respond to the baby buffalo distress call as well, but more from a case of interest, just to see what's going on, and they often don't get close enough to dart in those circumstances. You can hear the rusty spring in the background, or the Cokie Franklin. And the other calls that are used to attract lions, specifically if you're on the hunt for a male lion, and would bring the territorial males in to defend. And that can often work from quite a distance. Another call that we've used before, and that also attracts lions and both hyenas, is hyena clan fights, or hyenas fighting with lions on a kill. All of those will work for the large apex predators. Oh, there's a stretch going on inside that quarry bush. Paws up, resting on a branch. Oh, and down. One up, one still up. Oh, we can just see it lazing. So we've seen lions with me and giraffe in the beginning of the drive, and I know you had a fantastic walk with James and some giraffe. And Barbara said she's seen a video of a giraffe stomping a lion to death. Is this possible? Very much so. Those giraffe hooves are formidable weapons, and that's how they defend themselves against lions. So a giraffe is a high-risk animal for a lion to hunt, but it is very possible. And certain prides of lions, we've got some, just turning around, I think. Decided it was uncomfortable the way he was facing. And we're going to wait with these lions. I don't think they're going to move too much. Hopefully we do get a little bit of movement. But in the meantime, James has got a very, very pretty flower. Oh, we'll wait for this guy to move. Maybe he'll go flop on one of the other lions. Oh. There we go. Needed a pillow. That's why it was uncomfortable. But on that very restful note, we're going to go across James. He's got a very beautiful flower to show you, as well as a termitaria.
Hello everyone. You are looking pretty much up my nose, which is probably slightly disconcerting, but you're also looking at a glorious flower called, Andrew?
Canary, Christmas tree.
Or Chinese lantern, or Dichrostachys cinerea sicklebush. Now they actually, they have a heavenly light, sweet smell, very delicious indeed. And it's growing here on a termite mound. And the termite mound, unsurprisingly, has quite a lot of termites in it. And we'll go and have a look. They've opened up a tunnel here. Andrew, you've now managed to catch yourself in this sickle bush. That's Andrew falling off the termite mound. That wasn't an artistic attempt at a shot. He was just falling over himself. Right, come up this side, and you can see inside the termite mound here. And there are a lot of vicious soldiers lurking about to the top. There you can see them, perhaps. Can you see them, Andrew? I think we need to get further in. There we go. Look at the termites there. They're building furiously. They've been building this mound for some time. I've looked in here a few times.
The heat is steaming off the limbs.
The heat, yeah, that's wonderful. So you definitely saw the amount of heat coming out of it, and moisture is such that it was enough to steam up the lens. That is wonderful to see. So if I put my hand over the top here, I'm not going to put it in because that will result in my being bitten by one of these soldier termites, and that is quite sore. You can feel the heat coming out, and you can feel the moisture. Oh, there's a soldier coming to get me. You look at that. They're coming to attack me. And I have to tell you, it's pretty sore when they bite you. Oh, no, he's attacking. I tell you what, I tried to induce this one to bite my knuckle, just so that you can get an idea. Come on then.
Misting up.
Is it misting? Sorry about that. But now they're shaking around their heads like that. I think that what they're doing is probably excreting a pheromone of alarm, and that will result in the whole lot of the termites coming up in order to attack Andrew and I, drag us down into the mound and possibly devour us. I'm talking absolute rubbish. They wouldn't do that. They only eat fungus. These are the fungus-growing termites, and these are the soldiers. There. Oh! Look how he's taken my skin. Can you see that? Can you see he gave me an owie, Andrew? Can you see the skin there?
Yeah, I've sorry
It's
about
been
that,
discoloured, yes. And it's bleeding. There's blood. Look at that. Vicious little blighter. Well, I mean, look, I'm not going to bleed to death, but it certainly is impressive what a little termite is able to do with his vicious little mandibles. Those are the jaws. So those are the soldiers, and not all of them have got those jaws. The workers don't. And he's shaking, telling his friends to come and help him. We're under attack, is what they're saying. How wonderful. Now, you get two different sizes of termites, or soldiers. You get the major ones and the minor ones, and this is a minor one. The major ones are about twice that size, and I wouldn't have stuck my finger into the jaws of one of them. I'd probably have cried on live air if I had. Yeah, and I just want to give you an impression of the smell. There's a lovely smell coming out, a real earthy smell. It smells like fresh soil. They are the most astonishing creatures. There's a worker, Andrew. Now, an animal hasn't crushed this. I think this one has probably been opened up, perhaps by some hornbills. They definitely open them up so that they can eat the termites. And they haven't closed this one off. This one's been open for a little while, actually. I suspect you can see here, they are closing it down. And they will eventually repair it until it's closed. Did you get a picture of that worker there without the mandibles? Not really. And now all the soldiers are coming towards the top here. I mean, there would mostly be soldiers near the top, because obviously this is where the greatest threat to the mound is. But there are workers around as well without those vicious little mandibles. It's just incredible. He's got a worker. Gee whiz, look at that. So very difficult, obviously, for Andrew to try and focus inside this mound. The camera picks up all sorts of different pieces of light, and so it becomes almost impossible. But there you get an idea. All right. I think the lens is misting up slightly, and I obviously need to apply first aid to my finger because it has been viciously attacked by a termite soldier. While I'm doing that, we'll take you across to some other vicious but very sleeping predators with Brent, and we'll see you just now.
Poor James, even the termites attack him. But on the subject of termite mounds, would you believe it that in Australia, in Melbourne, in 2006, there was a building that was constructed to be as environmentally friendly as possible, and all its heating, ventilation and cooling systems were based on the structure of a termite mound. So we can see all the lions are very, very lazy. And very, very comfortable. It looks like they'll have enough shade here, even if these clouds dissipate. And one of the young males, not this one who is exposing himself, has a wound on the base of his tail. And we're going to have a quick look at it now. I know you first saw it with Jamie when these lions were seen on Arathusa, and we can have a look there now. See now, it doesn't look too bad. There's a little bit of infection, and that's probably caused by all those flies. But this is the type of wound that could possibly result in the loss of a tail, and more than likely not though. And these animals have an incredible capacity for healing, and wounds that look very bad to us are actually not that bad for them. I'm sure it's quite irritating, especially with the flies, but it doesn't look too infected, and it looks like it should heal over time as long as he doesn't irritate it too much. It'd be fascinating to know how that wound was caused, possibly from another lion claw. And there has been such upheaval in recent months with the lions in the Sabi Sands. As you can see, he doesn't look like he's lost any condition. He's in very good condition, fat and healthy. So a lot of you at home will see or have a specific scratching post for your domestic cat. And Ashley from North Carolina was wondering, do lions sharpen their claws on trees? They definitely do, and for this, not only does it help to keep those claws nice and sharp, it also cleans a lot of that rotting meat from under the claws. So they definitely do that. But these lions don't look like they're going to go anywhere. We will definitely follow up with them on the sunset safari, and we're going to continue on for the last couple of minutes, see what else we can find. And while we do that, I asked you guys a question about horse and donkey species naturally occurring in Africa. And very well done to Crystal. Crystal's hit the nail on the head. And there are 3 species of zebra. You have your plains zebra, and they're different variants. You have 2 different mountain zebras, but they also are very closely related. And then the gravy zebra up in northern Kenya into Somalia. And then the wild ass, which lives in the deserts of North Africa. Crystal also notes that previously I've spoken about an animal called a quagga. A quagga is an extinct zebra species, and she was wondering if that was included. Crystal, that quagga, as you correctly presumed, would fall under the plain zebra thing. It's just a color variation of them. And the same goes for the Hartmann's mountain zebra and the Cape mountain zebra. They're also just variations of the same species. And the wild ass is very particular and living up in the desert regions. Actually a very endangered animal. Quite often its territory is in very war-torn countries. And they have been hunted extensively over the years. And Crystal also mentioned that there's a population of wild horses living in the Namib desert in Namibia. And she says these are feral, so they don't count. Again, Crystal, you're spot on. They are apparently mostly Hanoverians, which is quite a fancy German horse. My mother used to ride dressage on one. And they apparently escaped during World War I from the German encampments there. And there's a huge amount of discussion happening with the wild horses and what to do with them. So obviously, people being people, we get very, very attached to certain things. And so a lot of people say we should just let them roam free. They are a feral exotic animal in a wild area. Namibian Nature Conservation, as far as I know, is preparing to destroy those animals. They are affecting the local wildlife in terms of water usage and things like that, but it is still an ongoing story. And guys, there are lions right here. You just better be careful, man. There's some kudu. They're lying up. They're probably about 100 meters from the lions. But the lions are lying quite out in the open, and kudu have fantastic eyesight. So if they do get that way, I think the kudu will probably spot the lions before the lions spot the kudu. Okay, and off the kudu maneuver. There we go, one popped out into the open. Good spot, Brian. I love the kudu's ears. Radar dishes, picking up every little sound in the bush. Warming up quite nicely, but still a little bit chilly. Brian and I are both still wearing our jerseys.
And then Ashley in North Carolina, you wanted to know about do they make noises? They do make the odd noise. They make a kind of psh sound if they're alarmed. I've also heard them kind of make almost a roaring sound if they're really upset. I heard a mother once that was watching a leopard eat her baby. They made a kind of roaring sound. That's very unusual, though. We also think that giraffe can communicate infrasonically, a bit like elephants, which is a frequency of sound too low for us to hear. So they do quite a lot of communication. For a long time, it was thought that they were completely silent, but that is no longer the case. Right, we're going to probably leave you now with just a last look at... Oh, sorry, you are staying with me, actually. There's a beautiful tree here called a brown ivory, and it's certainly one of my favorites. It's called Berkemia discolor, and you can see that Andrew and I are, in fact, floating in the air. It's quite a remarkable talent that we've managed to develop while we were on this walk. This is Berkemia discolor, or the brown ivory tree, and I like them because they are of the venation, so the veins, and also because they grow on termite mounds, and this one isn't growing on a termite mound, and they just form the most quintessential sort of tree shape. Beautiful colors, and they're not that thick in the canopy when they're big, and so you can lie underneath them on a summer's day in the shade and watch the birds flying overhead, and when they're fruiting, of course, the birds in their branches. Beautiful. I'm just going to quickly see if I can... There it is. Andrew, come over here. There's the giraffe walking through the bushes over there. Can you see him? Well spotted. I'm going to go around behind you. You still see him? I'll see if I can get a better view from over here. No, I can't. Anyway, beautiful giraffe there. I don't think he's making any sounds, Ashley, but he's a good-sized giraffe. Probably weighs in the region of 1.2 tons, 1,200 kilograms times 2.2 puts us at roughly 2,800 or 2,600 pounds. I must say it would be very helpful if the Americans and British of the world would come across to the metric system. It's just so much easier to use. Right. Okay. Andrew, anything else you think we can get from this particular vantage point? We're standing on what is known as a bush braai spot. Sometimes people come out here and they have a barbecue in the evenings. This is a very pleasant thing to do. I've done it myself on many occasions. And nothing quite like having a barbecue with the sounds of the wild around. Now, I think that's all that you're going to get from Andrew and I today, because we pretty much can't move from here. If we do move from here, there may be an accident. Andrew will probably fall on his back. I'll have to administer first aid. It'll just be very unattractive because he's carrying so much. In fact, just before we go across to Brent to say hello, I'm just going to show you what Andrew looks like. There he is over there. You can see he's carrying an enormous amount of equipment. He looks like he might in fact be an alien. There we go, Andrew, before I totally lose focus. People, it's been a wonderful experience being on foot with you today. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So much more entertaining. It's wonderful looking at the big stuff in the cars, obviously, but it's a lot more difficult to show you the smaller wonders of the bush when you aren't on foot, and what a privilege it has been. Thank you for your questions and comments. Again, they're always astute and always very interesting, and it's great to interact with you on this level. Thank you very much. Thanks to Tara, of course, and Louise in the final control, and the indomitable Brent Leo Smith, of course, with Brian on the other car. Thank you, Andrew. Well done. Good job. We'll head across to Brent, and I'm not sure who's going to drive and who's going to walk this afternoon. But we will see you later on at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Stay happy and safe wherever you are. Bye-bye.
We've just spotted, now we've spotted 2 flying creatures. One up in the air there that Brian's got. And from the brief look I had, it's not the best view as it disappeared. It looks like a Wahlberg's eagle. Very long, straight tail. But now I'm going to try find you a far more difficult flying creature to view, and a really, really beautiful one. There you go, Brian. See that stick on the ground there? Yeah. There we go. So I just spotted it landing. There we go. It's called a citrus swallowtail butterfly. One of my favorites, and we're definitely starting to see a few more of them after a little bit of cool weather and rain we've got. So it's been a fascinating sunrise safari, and I can't wait to get out again on the sunset safari. The line dynamics at the moment are so interesting. Are the Tsalala Pride going to continue south back to their more traditional home range? But between them lie the Birminghams. Bad news for them. Where are the Matimbas? I heard they did come very close back into their old territory, but then ran back down south. I'm hoping Tsalala Pride decide to stay around here. I'm quite fond of them, and it's going to be really interesting, and only time's going to tell what's going to be happening with all this line dynamics. They just haven't popped across yet, so hopefully in the next day or two they will, the male leopards. And even more exciting, I really want to see that new female leopard I heard about yesterday on Arathusa, the daughter of Kwatile, and hopefully she'll start also moving into this vacuum that it seems to be around us with leopards at the moment. But other than that, thanks very much for joining us on the Sunrise Safari, and thank you for all your questions. They were great. Well done to those who got their answers right, and we're going to leave you with a nice African view for the last few seconds, but don't forget to join us on the Sunset Safari.